You stare at a blank screen, waiting for a brilliant idea to strike. Hours pass. You feel utterly uninspired. But the real answer for why you feel blocked is far stranger than simple laziness. What if your brain is secretly a highly creative genius that only works when it looks like it's doing absolutely nothing? Psychologists used to believe that a resting brain was an idle brain. When you weren't actively solving a math problem or reading a book, your mind was essentially powered down. But in 2001, a neuroscientist named Marcus Raichle made a discovery that flipped this idea upside down. He found that when you stop focusing on the outside world, a specific network in your brain lights up like a Christmas tree. It is called the default mode network, or the DMN. This network is the exact opposite of idle. It is wildly active. It is the mental space where daydreaming, mind-wandering, and deep creativity live. When you feel like you're wasting time staring out the window, your DMN is actually connecting distant ideas, solving complex problems, and simulating future scenarios. Your brain isn't resting. It is simply switching gears from external input to internal construction. Have you ever wondered why your best ideas always hit you in the shower? That is not a coincidence. The shower is one of the few places left where you are truly alone with your thoughts, free from notifications and screens. Your DMN gets the quiet it desperately needs to finally hand you the solution you were searching for earlier. The trick is that you cannot force it. The harder you stare at that blank screen, the more you suppress the very network that holds your answer. You are effectively slamming the door on your own genius. But why does powering down your focus actually power up your creativity? To understand this, you have to look at how your brain stores information. Your mind is not a filing cabinet. It is a massive, tangled web of loosely associated concepts. When you are actively focusing on a task, your brain relies on the executive control network. This is the logical, goal-oriented part of your brain. It drives straight down the highway, ignoring the scenery, just trying to get to the destination. It is great for executing tasks, but terrible for original thought. True creativity requires colliding two completely unrelated ideas to form something entirely new. And that collision only happens when the strict logical guardrails of your focused mind drop their weapons and step aside. When your focus finally breaks, your brain relaxes. You stop forcing the pieces to fit, allowing the DMN to come online and start rummaging through the back rooms of your memory. It pulls up a random childhood memory, mashes it together with a podcast you listened to last week, and suddenly connects them to the problem you were agonizing over all morning. This is exactly why cognitive scientists often describe highly creative people as having leaky filters. A study conducted by researchers at Northwestern University found that creative geniuses literally process sensory information differently than the average person. Their brains let in more noise from the outside world. They hear the hum of the air conditioner. They notice the specific shade of yellow on the wall. Because their mental filters are slightly more permeable, they can access a wider pool of raw material, giving their resting brain a much richer library to draw from when connecting those distant dots. Your brain is doing this heavy lifting in the background right now. But there is a catch. You are actively sabotaging it. Think about the last time you stood in line at the grocery store or sat in your car at a red light. How long did you last before pulling out your phone? 6 seconds? 7? Every time you cram a spare moment with a podcast, an email, or a quick scroll through social media, you are starving your default mode network. You are keeping your executive control network engaged just enough to block the DMN from ever waking up. You are trading your deep, latent genius for shallow, continuous distraction. The human brain is wired to crave novelty. Psychologists call this the novelty bias. Your phone is a perfect slot machine of new information, delivering tiny dopamine hits that keep your focus locked outward. But this constant stimulation comes with a hidden cost. You never allow your mind to wander into that messy, associative state where true creativity lives. You keep the door locked. This is where the mere exposure effect comes into play. The more you expose yourself to the rapid-fire content of modern feeds, the more your brain expects that pace, making stillness feel unbearable. If you find value in understanding how your mind is quietly working against you, consider subscribing. You are exposing yourself to the mechanics of your own behavior, and the more you see it, the easier it becomes to take control. When was the last time you allowed yourself to be genuinely bored? Boredom is not a symptom of a dull life. It is the ignition switch for your DMN. When you feel that restless, uncomfortable itch of having nothing to do, your brain panics. It starts searching its own internal archives for entertainment and solutions. That discomfort is the exact moment your creative genius begins to stretch its legs. But you have to endure the silence long enough for the magic to happen. Look at history's greatest breakthroughs. Albert Einstein famously discovered the theory of relativity not while hunched over a chalkboard, but while imagining himself riding a beam of light. He was daydreaming. Nikola Tesla visualized his inventions entirely in his mind before ever building them. These were not moments of lazy distraction. They were deliberate descents into the default mode network. Psychologists call this the incubation effect. When you hit a wall on a complex problem, walking away from it actually improves your chances of solving it. Your conscious mind gives up, but your subconscious mind keeps quietly turning the gears. It tests combinations, discards bad options, and searches for the hidden pattern. But modern society has declared war on incubation. You wear your busyness like a badge of honor. If your hands aren't typing and your eyes aren't scanning, you feel unproductive. This guilt is a modern invention. Your brain doesn't care about your productivity metrics. It operates on its own biological schedule, demanding periods of stillness to process the data you've crammed into it. When you deny yourself this rest, you aren't just burning out. You are actively capping your own potential. You become a high-speed processor running on a broken cooling fan. You treat your mind like a machine, forgetting that even the most advanced systems need to reboot. The ideas stop flowing. The genius that is naturally wired into your neural architecture gets buried under a mountain of incoming notifications and self-imposed pressure to always be doing something. The cure is beautifully simple, yet it feels unnatural at first. You must schedule time to do absolutely nothing. Put your phone in another room, sit in a chair, and stare at the wall. Take a walk without your headphones. Let the silence feel uncomfortable, and then let it pass. That is the exact moment your default mode network wakes up, stretches out, and starts doing the heavy lifting you didn't know you needed. You are no longer forcing the pieces to fit. You are allowing your brain to arrange them for you. The incubation effect requires patience. It requires trusting that your mind is working behind the scenes, even when your hands are completely still. Modern society always demands that you externalize your thoughts, producing something tangible every single second. But true genius is an internal process. It is the quiet hum of a brain connecting complex dots across years of lived experiences. When you deny yourself this rest, you are locking your most brilliant self in a cold, dark room. If you want to keep exploring the hidden mechanics of your own brain, consider subscribing. By following along, you are rewarding your mind's natural desire for deep patterns instead of cheap digital distractions, using the mere exposure effect to make self-awareness your default setting. The next time you hit a wall, do not push harder. Step away. Give your resting brain the silence it desperately craves. Tonight, when the urge to scroll hits, try looking out the window instead. Let your mind wander, because staring at a blank screen, waiting for a brilliant idea to strike, is only unproductive if you never allow the screen to go dark first.